Okay, buckle up, because I am about to tell you about an animal that basically invented the pause button for life itself. Imagine you fell asleep one summer, and when you woke up, 4 years had passed. 4 whole years. No eating, no drinking, no moving, just waiting. And you felt totally fine. You just stretched, yawned, and went about your day like nothing happened. That sounds completely impossible, right? Well, nobody told the lungfish that. The lungfish is one of the most ancient, bizarre, and honestly kind of terrifying creatures on the planet. Terrifying in the best possible way, and today we are going to find out exactly how it pulls off one of the greatest survival tricks in the entire history of life on Earth. Let's go. So first, what even is a lungfish? Great question. It looks kind of like someone drew a fish and then halfway through decided to draw a snake instead and just went with it. It is long, it is slimy, it has fins that look suspiciously like stubby little legs, and as the name gives away completely, it has lungs. Actual lungs. Not just gills like a regular fish, lungs. The kind you and I use to breathe air right now. Scientists think lungfish are so old that they were swimming around before dinosaurs even showed up to the party. We are talking about 400 million years of existence. For comparison, the dinosaurs went extinct about 66 million years ago. Lungfish were already ancient by then. They have been doing their thing since before most of the continents were even in the right places. There are 6 species of lungfish alive today, and they live in Africa, South America, and Australia. The African lungfish is the absolute champion of survival, though. This is the one that pulls off the 4-year trick, and everything about how it does this is jaw-dropping. Here is what happens. Every year in Africa, the dry season arrives, and the shallow lakes and swamps where lungfish live start to dry up. The water gets lower and lower and lower. Most fish would panic. Most fish would die. The lungfish has a plan. When the water starts disappearing, the lungfish starts digging. It uses its snout to burrow down into the mud at the bottom of the lake. It digs itself a little chamber, a cozy pocket in the earth, just big enough for its body. Then it curls up inside. Now here's where it gets wild. The lungfish starts producing something called mucus. I know, mucus sounds gross, but stay with me here, because this mucus is literally a life-saving invention. The fish coats itself in layer after layer of this thick slime. It dries and hardens around the lungfish like a sleeping bag, like a protective cocoon made entirely out of its own body secretions. Scientists have an amazing word for this cocoon. They call it an estivation cocoon. Estivation is basically the hot weather version of hibernation. Bears hibernate in the cold, lungfish estivate in the heat and the drought, and the cocoon is the magic key to the whole thing. Inside this mucus sleeping bag, the lungfish is protected from completely drying out. But here is the part nobody talks about. The fish leaves a tiny little tube in the cocoon, one small opening at the top that leads all the way up to the surface of the dried mud, and through that tiny tube, the lungfish breathes air. Just enough oxygen keeps trickling down to keep it alive, barely alive, but alive. The fish slows everything down to almost nothing. Its heart rate drops dramatically. Its metabolism, that is basically the speed at which your body burns energy and keeps itself running, slows down to about 1 or 2% of normal. 1 to 2%, your car engine idling in a parking lot uses more energy than that. The lungfish stops digesting food completely because there is no food. So instead, very slowly and very carefully, it starts breaking down its own muscle tissue for energy. Just a tiny bit at a time. Enough to keep the brain and heart ticking over, enough to stay alive without actually eating anything, and it can do this for up to 4 years. 4 years underground in a dirt cocoon, breathing through a straw-sized hole, running on basically nothing. When the rains finally come and the water soaks back into the ground, the cocoon softens, the lungfish wakes up, wiggles out into the fresh water, and just carries on. It eats some food, rebuilds its muscle, and starts living its normal life again, like nothing happened, like it did not just spend years essentially frozen in time inside a ball of its own dried mucus underground. I need a moment. That is just extraordinary. Now here is something that absolutely blew my mind when I found out. Lungfish have been found alive inside their cocoons inside mud that was collected and sent to museums. Before scientists understood what they were looking at, curators would sometimes slice open a weird dried mud clump and find a very confused, very much alive fish inside. One lungfish was reportedly revived after spending 6 years in a museum storage room inside its cocoon. 6 years in a museum. In a box, probably with a little label on it, still alive. That is not a fish, that is a miracle with fins. Here's another fact that connects everything to something much bigger. Lungfish are the closest living fish relatives to all land animals with backbones. That includes frogs, lizards, birds, elephants, and yes, you. The way lungfish breathe air with actual lungs is a clue pointing back to an ancestor we share with them. Around 375 million years ago, creatures very much like the lungfish started experimenting with spending time on land. That experiment eventually led to the entire history of land life on Earth. Everything that walks and hops and runs and climbs. It all traces back to fish learning to breathe air. Fish like the lungfish. So when you look at a lungfish, you are not just looking at a weird slimy creature from Africa. You are looking at a living window into your own ancient history. There is one more surprising thing about lungfish that I have to tell you. They can actually bite hard. They do not have normal teeth. They have these crushing plates made of bone inside their mouths that they use to crunch through hard-shelled animals like clams and snails. If you tried to pick one up, which you should absolutely not do, it could take a chunk right out of your hand. This fish has been surviving for 400 million years for a reason. It did not get there by being soft. Lungfish can also live for a very long time. One lungfish at an aquarium in Chicago, named Grandad, lived to be over 100 years old. He arrived at the Shed Aquarium in 1933 and lived there until 2017. He was probably already an adult when he was caught. Nobody knows exactly how old he really was. Grandad was already ancient when your grandparents were babies. He had seen the entire 20th century from inside a fish tank in Illinois. So let us bring all of this together. The lungfish has been around for 400 million years. It can breathe air through real lungs. It can bury itself underground and survive for up to 4 years with no water, no food, and almost no energy. It can live for over a century. It can bite through hard shells. And it is one of the closest living relatives to every animal with a backbone that lives on land. This is not just a cool fish. This is a living fossil, a survivor, a creature that watched the dinosaurs arrive, watched them dominate the planet for hundreds of millions of years, and then watched them disappear. And while all of that was happening, the lungfish just kept doing its thing, digging its little hole, wrapping itself in its mucus cocoon, waiting out the dry season, patiently, quietly, perfectly, 400 million years of practice, and honestly, it shows. The next time you think a problem is too hard to survive, just remember the lungfish. It dried up, went underground, and came back 4 years later ready for breakfast. Now here's the question I want you to think about and answer in the comments. If you could choose any animal's superpower to have for one day, would you choose the lungfish ability to pause your life completely and come back whenever you wanted? Or is there another animal out there with a power you think is even more impressive? Tell me below, because I read every single one.